He sat there on the cold pavement, his trembling hands clutching a torn wallet that held nothing but an old photograph. A photo of his family, smiling, before everything fell apart. Before the bankruptcy, before the betrayal, before life showed him how quickly everything can be taken away. This is the story of Arnav, a man who once had everything, money, success, respect, and then lost it all. But it's also the story of how he stood up again, from zero, and built a life greater than before. Once, Arnav was the kind of man people admired. He ran a successful construction company in the city. Over 100 employees worked under him. He owned a big house, luxury cars, and a lifestyle that others only dreamed of. He was proud of what he'd achieved. He believed he had life all figured out. But pride has a way of blinding us. He trusted the wrong people. He ignored his wife's concerns and dismissed small red flags because he thought, "I'm too smart to be fooled." But one day, everything came crashing down. His business partner vanished, taking with him every rupee Arnav had invested. In a few days, his accounts were frozen, projects stopped, and his name dragged through the mud. The workers who once cheered his arrival now looked away in silence. His so-called friends disappeared, and even his relatives stopped picking up his calls. Within months, Arnav went from wearing branded suits to struggling to pay rent. His wife tried to stay strong, but pain changes people. Arguments replaced laughter. Blame replaced understanding. One morning, she quietly packed her bags, took their son, and left a short note on the table. "Arnav, I can't do this anymore. I hope you find yourself again someday." That single sentence broke him more than losing his business ever could. Days turned into weeks. He stopped answering calls, stopped meeting people. He'd sit for hours staring at the walls, wondering how everything he built with years of effort could vanish overnight. Eventually, he left his apartment and wandered through the city streets aimlessly. He slept on park benches, skipped meals, and looked at the same city lights that once symbolized his success, but now only reminded him of everything he'd lost. He had nothing left. No home, no family, no money, and no reason to wake up. But one rainy night, something happened that changed everything. As he sat under a bridge, shivering and drenched, he noticed an old man selling tea under a broken umbrella. The man's hands shook with age, but his smile was steady. Rain poured down, thunder roared, but he kept serving tea, thanking every customer with warmth. Arnav walked over and asked softly, "Uncle, why are you doing this in this weather? You should be resting." The old man chuckled and said, "Beta, if I rest, who will feed me? Life doesn't stop when things get hard. You stop, and life leaves you behind." Those words hit Arnav deep in his chest. That night, for the first time in months, he didn't cry. He thought. He realized that everything he had lost was outside of him: money, business, status. But the will to rebuild, the courage to start again, that was still inside. The next morning, he decided, "I'll start again, even if it's from zero. Even if no one believes in me, I'll believe in myself." But starting again was not easy. No one wanted to hire a man whose business had failed. He faced rejection after rejection. Some people laughed at him, some pitied him. At last, he found a job as a laborer at a construction site, the same kind of site he once owned. Every morning, he wore a dusty uniform instead of a suit. Every evening, he wiped sweat instead of signing contracts. People who recognized him whispered behind his back, "Look at him, the great Arnav Sharma, reduced to a worker." But Arnav ignored them. He had learned his lesson. He knew rebuilding his life meant rebuilding his soul first. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. He worked hard, learned quietly, and saved every rupee he could. He never complained, never quit. And slowly, life began to notice his effort. One day, the site manager saw how Arnav fixed a foundation problem that even the engineers couldn't solve. The manager asked, "How do you know this?" Arnav smiled. "Experience. I used to run a company once." That day, the manager promoted him to site supervisor. From there, things began to change. He rose step by step, from laborer to supervisor, then to project coordinator. He lived simply, focused on doing better each day. Every night he'd go back to his small rented room, open his old notebook, and write ideas for how he would rebuild his dream business one day. 2 years later, he finally had enough savings to start again. But this time, he was wiser. He registered a small firm and called it Phoenix Constructions, a symbol of rebirth, of rising from ashes. At first, no clients trusted him. His past failures followed him everywhere, but he didn't stop. He took small repair jobs, tiny contracts, and did them with excellence. And slowly, people began to talk. Hire Arnav. He doesn't just build houses, he builds trust. Within a few years, Phoenix Constructions became one of the most respected mid-sized firms in the city. Not because it was the biggest, but because it was built on honesty, resilience, and care. And this time, Arnav didn't build alone. He hired people who had lost everything: struggling workers, single parents, young men who had given up on dreams. He gave them jobs, hope, and faith that they too could rise again. Years passed. One day, while attending a charity event, Arnav saw his wife and son. They had come to volunteer. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "Arnav, I can't believe it's you." He smiled gently and said, "I'm not the same man anymore. I had to lose everything to find who I truly am." That day, they sat together for hours, not as strangers, but as two souls who had finally healed. Years later, during an interview, a young journalist asked him, "Sir, what's the secret behind your comeback?" Arnav looked out the window and said quietly, "The secret is simple. Losing everything isn't the end. It's life's way of asking, how badly do you still want to live? Most people stop when they fall, but when you have nothing left to lose, that's when you're truly free to start again." Arnav's story isn't just about business. It's about resilience, about hope, about the power inside every human being to rise again, no matter how deep they've fallen. So if you're listening to this right now and you feel like your life is falling apart, remember this: you can start again, even from zero, even when no one believes in you. Because sometimes losing everything is how you find your true self.